So the programme for tonight, we'll give you sort of 20 minutes and talk about the story so far. We'll talk about the site. We'll talk about our vision for the site. We'll talk about the social value we think the project will bring to the area. We'll talk about the timeline, and we'll also talk about the East London Waterworks Park Limited, which is the legal vehicle we've set up for the project. We'll then tell you a bit more about how you can get involved if you'd like to, and then we'll move on to the Q&A session. It was absolutely fantastic to those of you who sent questions in advance. It's always wonderful to know that people are coming to your party before it starts. So that was a really nice feeling. We'll feed those in at the appropriate moment. If you think of a question during the presentation, please pop it in the chat box rather than email it, as I've turned my email off now. And also, to make things a little bit easier for us to manage with so many people joining in, it would be great if you could just use the chat function for questions. We've got someone monitoring that and they'll be feeding in the questions. There'll also be the opportunity to ask face-to-face questions, as it were, as well. So if I can start by handing over to Kathy, who will talk about the site.
Great, thanks Abby. So my name's Kathy and I'm a local resident. I've lived in Waltham Forest for 20 years also, like Abby. I'm also an environmental educator and community gardener, and I was drawn to the project because I'm obsessed with rewilding and its potential to heal the planet and people. So the name of our project comes from the historic use of the site shown in this map of the area in 1894 to 96. It was a major part of the former East London Waterworks at Lea Bridge, a water filtration plant that provided clean water to London from 1829 until the 1970s. In the 1980s, the waterworks was split up. The Lee Valley Regional Park Authority took control of the sites known as the Middlesex Filter Beds and the Waterworks Nature Reserve, also known as the Essex 2 filter beds, and our site is the central part, known operationally as the Essex 1 filter beds, and it was retained by Thames Water as a maintenance depot, and the filter bed pits were filled in and capped with concrete. So where exactly, we've been through time, we've travelled through time, but where actually physically is our site? So the site is a 5.6 hectare area at the heart of the Lee Valley Regional Park, and is classified as metropolitan open land, meaning it's protected from inappropriate development by law. It's adjacent to the River Lee and Lea Bridge Road, across the road from the ice skating rink, and across the river from the Princess of Wales pub. Its potential is currently hiding in plain sight, as what should be a green and blue space connecting the adjacent open spaces and allowing people and animals to roam freely is fenced in and cut off. We view the site as the missing piece of the jigsaw, and our project is inspired by imagining what would happen if those fences were torn down. It's hard to grasp the scale of the site at ground level, although on our blog, the footage of Abby's speeded up walk around the perimeter really helps and also gives a good sense of its location and proximity to local landmarks. 5.6 hectares is just over 5.5 international rugby pitches or Trafalgar Squares. Alternatively, you could take a walk around the Waterworks Nature Reserve next door to get a sense of scale. But a bird's eye view is the best way to appreciate the size of the site. And luckily, we have some drone footage to share. So the footage starts from the south side on Hackney Marshes and heads north to the site. So you'll be able to see the Hackney Marsh football pitches. And as we approach the site, you'll be aware of some water on the right and then concrete on the left. Really look at the shape, the distinctive sort of petal-like shape of the water features on the right, because that's the water where the waterworks is at the moment and the filter beds. And on the left is the capped-in filter beds that we spoke about, that we want to take the concrete off to replicate that petal shape with which. So they're really important sort of features to look out for. In terms of the current ownership of the site, in 2016 it was sold to the Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government to build 2 free schools. In 2019, planning permission for this was refused, mainly because the development was considered inappropriate on metropolitan open land. The decision wasn't appealed, and we believe the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, as the Department for Communities and Local Government is now called, is open to selling the site. The site is currently being leased back to Thames Water, And the main reason why we're unable to get access to the site at the moment is because it is an operational maintenance depot. But this hasn't stopped us planning and dreaming, and our vision for the site's future is now going to be shared with you with Maria Chiara.
Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Maria Chiara. I'm an architect and director of PIM Studio Architects based in Hackney. And tonight I would like to take you through our vision for this piece of the city. As Kathy showed you, this is the site now, a big slab of concrete surrounded by high fences. By removing the fences, we can reconnect this plot to the Lower Lee Valley, grant open public access, offering people the opportunity to immerse themselves into nature. We want to transform the depot into a brownfield rainforest, and to do so, we are starting from what is already there, the filter beds. There is an immense potential in the history of the place. Infrastructure, architecture, soil, water, light, they all form the identity of this space, and we can narrate a new chapter of its history. Now, imagine this land owned by the community with what is best for the environment at the forefront of every decision, starting to uncover part of the filter beds to create pools for wild swimming. We want to chip away the concrete, crushing it into different grades to create habitats for invertebrates. Planting and natural rewilding will do the rest, creating a mosaic of habitats and turning a concrete wasteland into a brownfield rainforest. A brownfield site teaming up with nature to create connection and encounters between people and wildlife. We imagine a place that is democratic and accessible, that negates isolation and alienation, and allow us to feel that we are an integral part of this thing. So often, brownfield sites are seen as suitable only for intense development, and we want to show there is another narrative possible. They can be the way to reduce the impact of climate change and biodiversity loss, and help people to relearn how to live in harmony with nature. We want to refurbish the fantastic buildings and give them a new life as community spaces. For example, now we can see the engine house that was built in 1892 in the arts and crafts domestic revival style. It is in good condition and is currently being used as an office space for the staff of the depot. We think it would make an amazing visitor accommodation. The Princess and Prince engine shed and the triple shed associated with the steam engine that pump water from the filter beds. They are currently used for storage, but we think they could be used as community workshops, studios, labs, exhibition spaces for artists and scientists, bringing together the arts and science and to collaborate in ways that we rarely seen. Actually, in fact, we already have started collaborating with universities across London, for example, the London School of Architecture, Westminster University, and Queen Mary University of London. The octabular Termit House was built in 1885. It sits beside the weir where the river drops up to 4 meters. Although locally listed, it is unused and semi-derelict. We think it could once again provide power to the site and supply power back to the electricity grid, making the site as a whole not just carbon neutral, but carbon negative. The entrance building, finally, is currently unused, and we are not sure, actually, of its original purpose, but we would like to turn it into a community hub, a place where the community groups can meet and a base for on-site volunteers. Finally, there is a small building close to the filter beds that we would like to turn it into a poolside cafe. Here in the map, you can see all the buildings. They will need lots of work to repurpose them and retrofit them to a high environmental standards. And we would like to adopt a self-built, skill-share approach to this task, bringing experts onto the site to share their skills with volunteers and building up a lot of experience within the local community. I'm hoping that this will inspire and empower people to green their homes and feel more positive about responding to the big challenges of climate change. There will also be lots of opportunities for volunteers, conservation tasks, planting and foraging. Sally will now talk to you about the values that we envisage for the project.
Thank you, Maria Chiara. Hello, I'm Sally. I work as a garden designer and I've lived in Leighton for 4 years, but I lived in Hackney before that on and off for many, many years. Social values are used by many councils to measure the benefits of the community of contracts they award and groups they support. These are no longer solely economic benefits. We feel this project will deliver these social values, offering health, environmental benefits to our community, as well as boosting the local economy. For the economy, there'll be capital investment, goods and services purchased locally, as well as many volunteer hours, which are also counted. Goods and services will be sourced from individuals and companies with robust environmental and ethical policies. Wherever possible, we'll work with small local businesses and individuals to grow the local green economy. People with access to green and blue spaces have better mental health, and this project will create a brand new place to encourage this. In the swim ponds, people will be able to literally immerse themselves in nature in a safe way, which isn't possible anywhere elsewhere in the borough. Volunteering can really help people with mental health problems, or people who are socially isolated, or just needing to find a purpose. They'll connect with others to work towards a common goal in a supportive environment. The project will encourage long-distance walks by linking up the Lower Lee Valley, as well as allowing a wider range of shorter walks. It will also provide an exciting destination for walkers, or an attractive resting place on their journey. And of course, there'll be wild swimming, so local people can experience the joy and the many health benefits in safety. Sustainability, decarbonisation, and safeguarding and enhancing the natural environment underwrite every aspect of the project. One example is that we will develop a circular economy. Waste going to landfill will be limited or ideally eliminated completely. Single-use plastics and microplastics will not be tolerated, and everything possible will be composted and recycled to use again on site. And this includes rainwater and grey water, which will be collected and reused. Water conservation and improving water quality will be a defining feature of the project. Reintroducing open water, planting to improve water quality, and preserving native species will really increase pollinators. Breaking up hard standing to create habitats for invertebrates will also improve biodiversity, as will reconnecting green spaces to create a larger wildlife corridor.
Thank you, Sally. I'm going to talk a little bit now about the timeline. So the Space Hive crowdfunder closes in May, and if we reach our target, we'll be spending the rest of this year spending the money that we've raised to work on 4 things. Firstly, we'll be getting the site valued. This will enable us to begin negotiations with the landowner, that's the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. And Stella Creasy, CMP for Walthamstow, has already agreed to help us find out who in the department we need to talk to, which is fantastic. And the ideal scenario is that we agree a price and we're given, say, 3 years to raise the money. Secondly, we'll be working with civil and environmental engineers to test the feasibility of our ideas and to develop the concept further. So the engineers will be scoping the water strategy, including the recirculation and natural treatment of the water in the wild swimming pools and the site's relationship with the River Lee. They will also be looking at the existing concrete substructures, exploring an energy strategy for the buildings, and thinking about the circular economy that Sally just mentioned, where hopefully waste is eliminated and resources are reused. Thirdly, we'll be working with a designer to give the project a strong visual identity, something we'll need when we come to raising the money to buy the site. And finally, we'll be carrying out research. Our aim is to ensure that everybody feels welcome in and around the project, and that the East London Waterworks Park is actually designed to welcome everybody. We want the park to be meaningfully inclusive to all, and to do this, we need to develop an understanding of needs and lived experiences of the whole community. And we'll be reaching out to a wide range of groups and individuals to understand whether there are barriers that discourage people from getting involved in the project, and how we can encourage a wide range of people to be involved now and in the future as well. Between 2022 and 2025, we'll be working on acquiring the site and continuing to develop the design. Once we own the site, we think we'll need a year of enabling works. Those are those big structural changes that will require a working environment unsafe for volunteers. So removing some of that concrete, for example. But after that phase is complete, we plan to welcome volunteers to continue the transformation of the site. And we think that transformation will take 6 years, but that we'll be able to welcome visitors 2 years into that process. So it's a very long process, and we're very much at the beginning of that, but we're all hugely excited about what we can achieve. We're very aware that we're asking now and in the future for a lot of money. So it was very important to us that we're a properly constituted organisation. As I said, we began as a community group, but we've set up the East London Waterworks Park Limited. It's registered as a private company limited by guarantee. That means it doesn't have any shareholders, and all profits are reinvested to promote the non-profit objectives of the company. This is the best vehicle for transitioning to a charity. You can't set up a charity straight away. You have to have a couple of years under your belt, and you have to have an income of £5,000 a year. So we set up this company, demonstrate that, and we can establish ourselves as a charity. So what's very important are those objectives of the company, and those are to promote the protection of the environment by purchasing land and returning it to nature, to create a habitat that will increase biodiversity, and to create a place for people to connect with nature. So that's the formal structure. But we also want to maintain our founding ethos of a community group coming together to make something amazing happen. And so we're also working on an organisational structure that allows us to flourish like that. So there are 4 levels of involvement. The directors, they hold the legal role of director at Companies House, and we currently have 3 of those, and they are legally responsible for the company. Next, we have members. They hold the legal role of members at Company House, and they are, I suppose, the equivalent of shareholders for a company limited by shares. So a company limited by guarantee has members, and we currently have 10 of them. And then we have friends. Those are people who are part of the project, are involved in everyday activities, day-to-day activities. And then we have guests, those who are interested in the project but dip in and out because of other commitments. And guests can become friends, friends can become members. It's a nice fluid structure, we hope, and keep people engaged over the years, the many years to come. So the day-to-day activities are carried out by circles, small teams with specific responsibilities, and representatives from those circles meet regularly at hub meetings where they share what they've been doing and seek buy-in for their next steps. So we currently have 5 circles: governance, communications, inclusivity, fundraising, and design. Hopefully that's relatively straightforward, but we can ask you can ask questions about in more detail about that later if you'd like to. The point to make, though, is that we're constantly evolving as we grow and meet new challenges. So if we talk again in a year, we might have more circles, we might have fewer circles, we might have completely different circles. The project is all about encouraging people to live harmoniously with nature, but it's also about learning how to work harmoniously with each other, and establishing a regenerative culture that allows us each to flourish and share our unique skills. We're very aware that we're at the beginning of that journey, but we're also celebrating how far we've come since the community meeting on the 16th of September 2019, when the idea was born. Given the whirlwind we've all been on in the last year, 16th of September 2019 sounds eons ago, but it's actually not that long ago at all, really. So how can you get more involved if you'd like to? If what you've heard this evening has really excited you, we think that there are 3 ways that you can get more involved at the moment, depending on the amount of time that you have. You can subscribe to our blog, and I know some of you have already done that, and that will keep you up to date with what's going on. You can attend our open meetings, and we hope to have more of these as time goes on. This is an opportunity to ask questions and share ideas. You can also join a circle. And if you'd like to join a circle, just as a reminder, they are governance, communications, inclusivity, fundraising and design. Email us, and if you've got a preference, tell us which you prefer. The email address is info@elwp.org.uk, or you can use the contact us page on the website if you don't have time to make a note of that now.